Okay, ready for your deep dive. We're jumping right into uh, a really fascinating piece of ancient text today, Isaiah chapter 53.
Right. And this chapter, it immediately hits you with this figure, often called the suffering servant. It actually kicks off with a big question, doesn't it?
Yeah, who has believed our message and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? It's like, pay attention, this might be hard to grasp.
Exactly. It sets that tone right away. So let's unpack what the text says about him.
Well, the description starts pretty humbly. Says he grew up like a tender shoot, you know.
And like a root out of dry ground, not exactly a picture of strength or prominence.
No, and it gets even more direct about his appearance. He had no beauty or majesty.
Nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. So completely unremarkable looking, maybe even the opposite.
Yeah, maybe. And not just unremarkable, but actively pushed away.
Right. The text is blunt. He was despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and familiar with suffering.
A man of sorrows. Wow, people even hid their faces from him, it says.
Can you imagine that level of rejection? We esteemed him not, just disregarded.
Okay, but here's where it takes a really significant turn, I think. Despite all that suffering, that rejection, it says, surely he took up our infirmities and carried our sorrows. Suddenly, it connects his pain to, well, to us.
That's the pivot, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's not just random suffering. It's presented as vicarious. He's bearing something for others.
And the language gets incredibly strong. He was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities.
The punishment that brought us peace was upon him, and by his wounds we are healed. Powerful direct cause and effect language there.
Okay, let's pause on that. Transgressions, iniquities.
Yeah.
What exactly are we talking about here? And how does his crushing bring peace?
Good question. So transgressions and iniquities basically mean our wrongdoings, our failures, times we miss the mark or go against, a divine standard.
Like going astray.
Exactly like that. The text even says, we all, like sheep, have gone astray. Each of us has turned to his own way. It admits our part in the problem.
Right.
And the radical idea here is that the consequence, the weight of our going astray, it says, the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all.
So the peace and healing aren't just physical then. It's more about fixing that brokenness caused by going astray.
That seems to be the implication. A restoration, a reconciliation made possible because he bore that weight. He suffers for others.
And he does it silently. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth.
Yeah, like a lamb led to the slaughter. Total submission, no protest, even though it's unjust.
He's taken away by oppression and judgment. And it questions his future, right? Like, who would even talk about his kids because he was...
Cut off from the land of the living. Stricken.
And it specifies why. For the transgression of my people. So innocent, but treated like the guilty, even in death. Buried with the wicked.
Yes, assigned to graves with criminals, and it adds, with the rich in his death, which is interesting. But the key is, though he had done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth, completely innocent.
It's such a bleak picture, unjust suffering, death. But wait, it doesn't end there, does it?
No, and here's maybe the most challenging part for some. Yet it was the Lord's will to crush him and cause him to suffer.
God's will. That he suffer like this.
That's what the text states. It frames this immense suffering within a divine purpose. But immediately after saying that,
There's another turn.
a huge one, it says, after this suffering, after his soul has suffered, he will see his offspring and prolong his days, and the will of the Lord will prosper in his hand.
Hold on, how does being crushed and dying lead to seeing offspring and long days? That seems contradictory.
It does until you read the next part. It says, he will see the light of life and be satisfied. So death isn't the absolute end in this narrative.
See the light of life, and then
it connects his experience to others again. By his knowledge, my righteous servant will justify many, and he will bear their iniquities.
justify many, meaning make them righteous, put them right with God.
That's the core idea. Through his experience, his knowledge gained through suffering, his bearing their wrongdoings, others are made right.
So the suffering had this ultimate purpose of justification.
It seems so. And because he did this, because he went through it all, he gets a reward.
A reward after all that.
A great one. Therefore, I will give him a portion among the greats, because he poured out his life unto death and was numbered with the transgressors.
So his humiliation leads to exaltation.
Precisely. And notice the end. For he bore the sin of many and made intercession for the transgressors. He stands in the gap, essentially.
Wow. So this chapter takes us on quite a journey. From total rejection, deep suffering, dying unjustly for others,
Mm-hmm.
to seeing light, being satisfied, making many righteous, and finally being exalted by God.
It's an incredibly dense and powerful narrative arc, all packed into one chapter. It moves from being completely disregarded, esteemed not, to the highest honor, apportioned among the greats, all pivoting on this idea of bearing the sins and sorrows of others.
So as you listen to this description, this ancient text,
Yeah, what really stands out to you? How does this complex picture of suffering leading to vindication uh, resonate when you think about its potential meaning? Something to really chew on.